All right. John's recording. I'm going to record in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back to the second half of the Digital Free Thought Radio Hour. I'm Doubter 5, and we're on WOZO Radio 103.9 LPFM right here in Knoxville. Let's talk about the Atheist Society of Knoxville. ASK was founded in 2002. We're in our 20th year, and we have over 1,000 members. We have weekly in-person meetings at Knoxville's Old City at Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria. Come down, look for us out on the balcony. Not this weekend, it's cold and snowy, but the spring is coming, so look for us out on the deck. We're inside this weekend, the high top tables, usually the loudest and happiest group there. We also have Tuesday evening Zoom ASK meetings, and if you'd like to join us for that, send us an email at ask@knoxvilleatheist.org or let's chat se@gmail.com. You can find ASK online on Facebook, meetup.com, knoxvilleatheist.org, or just Google Knoxville Atheist. It's just that simple. By the way, if you don't live in Knoxville, you should still go to Meetup and do a search for an atheist group in your town. Don't find one? Start one. That's right. On back. Where do we want to pick up?
Hey, we're so pleased to be joined by the great John, not, and now I can't even remember the other last name I was
Roberts.
using. I accidentally call you John Roberts during the show, but you're John Richards, the one and only. John Richards, how you been? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you very much. And
how's the daylight savings time treating you?
well, we haven't bothered with that here. In fact, there's quite a movement to stop doing it because
it'd be nice.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes no sense.
Everybody knows that stopping tradition is a very easy thing that we can do overnight, though. Right?
Yes. Ty, you are looking very, very slim and chiseled today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm feeling really good.
Yeah, you're right. It's noticeable.
I should do this. Thanks. I feel really good. You know, the craziest thing is I went to the gym and I tried to do a pull-up, and I remember I couldn't even hang on the bars. And then yesterday I did 3 in a row for the first time in my whole life. And I was like, it's so much fun. There are things in the gym I can start using aside from just like this one elliptical now. It's really great. But we're talking, you know who I have to thank for that is the great Mystic Arts. You know, just an appeal to the Mystic Arts is what we are doing our show on. John Richards, I'd love to know what you think of mysticism. I call it woo. Maybe you can find both of them for us. I'd love to hear it in your finest accent possible. Maybe Yorkshire.
I'm not Yorkshire, no.
You try it. I want to hear how you say it in Yorkshire accent.
I'm not going to go there. I'm no good. I could do Northern Ireland.
Okay, very nice. Thanks.
But I'm no good at Yorkshire. Anyway, mysticism, very difficult to define, and it's very close close to mythicism too, I think. But woo-woo, I remember Brian Cox using, that was the first time I heard it. He's a physicist and program maker over here. You may have seen him on Discovery Channel or one of it, because it's a BBC effort, so it will travel. Anyway, he was talking to somebody about non-science, which I like to mix up with nonsense. and they jointly came up with the description woo-woo, but I don't think that was the original coining of it. But it just means something which is not scientific. So there's lots of things that are not scientific. Anything, any hypothetical thing, or because I can't even use the word hypothesis because that has to be testable. And of course, woo-woo inherently isn't. So any proposition that cannot be investigated is non-scientific.
Right.
That makes it woo-woo.
You have a really great point too. A hypothesis is something that you can test. That's the difference between it and just a wild conjecture question, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people claim things are the scientific method, but start on a question that is fundamentally untestable, unfalsifiable, and that should be your red alarm right there.
Yeah. So they don't qualify as hypotheses in that case. They're just blind guesses.
Right. How did God help me today? That's a lot of weird things. And you can probably find an answer for that. But Slew, we both grew up, I imagine, with wrestling. You remember Ric Flair or Nick Flair?
Yeah, Ric Flair.
There
Woo,
you go.
yeah.
Woo. You had a theory where Woo came from. I'd like to hear it from you.
Well, I did look into it because I heard like Aaron Raw talk about it on his shows and stuff. So I did look up a little bit on that. I don't know, a year or two ago to find out where that came from. And the conclusion I came to, I found online was that was the sound of the theremin in the old sci-fi movies, and that was where that comes from.
Now you're gonna have to make the impression of it because we don't know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, I'm not going to do that.
Come on, make it. George would love to hear you do the music rendition.
I'm sure George has one in his house. Like
I wouldn't be surprised by that. I would love to. Honestly, I was on Amazon thinking about trying to get one.
I don't, but I sometimes people who define themselves as spiritual or mystical want to get some validation from me about their experience with higher vibrations, and they say to me, well, you've been working with vibration all your life. I have experience with a higher vibration. I said, what in the world are you talking about? Higher vibration? There's no such thing.
There are such things as high vibrations, but not higher vibrations with a capital H and a V. There's the drop off.
Well, a high vibration. Yeah, you're talking about a higher frequency or
the bottom string on my guitar is a higher vibration. The lower
it's not
string.
A capital H and a capital V higher vibration. There's the problem. I'll do this for the show. I'll do it since we're radio, but
it's very good. Very good impression. But there are good vibrations, of course.
Yeah.
I like the way I like the way that the theremin.
How about the Star Trek theme?
Yes.
The original Star Trek theme.
Yes. I like the way that the theremin not only has the woo-woo sound, but it also has the woo-woo hand movements too, doesn't
you
it?
have to do so. Yeah, we're on the radio moving one hand in a wavy fashion. I feel like it is one-to-one. I feel like that had to have come from that. I feel like if it's not, it's the sexier of the two theories that I'm definitely going with. But speaking of sexy things, how about we go through listener comments, guys? I think
sounds good.
we can conclude that mysticism is by its design difficult to define. By design, it's difficult to define because it appeals to mystery. It appeals to mystics. And I feel like the more we define it, the less the ardents of mysticism will hold on to that definition and pick something more vague because they appreciate the ambiguity of it, because it keeps them from having to admit they don't know in a way when faced with hard objective truths. They can always appeal to mysteries as a way to resolve having to ever say they don't know. And I feel it's unfortunate because saying I don't know is a great way to learn. And it's the first step to knowing things. And I think the scientific process is built on admitting you don't know something, asking a question, and then testing it. Whereas mysticism is about, mysticism is about, I'll appeal to a mystery, and now I don't have to investigate anymore. And I feel like that shouldn't be the case.
And anyway, that's going to be an ad hoc fallacy anyway, because what you're trying to do there is substantiate a claim with another claim.
Yes. It's not a good epistemology. In fact, it's a really, really bad one. And doesn't mean that the conclusion is wrong. It just means that your methodology is poor. And why use a poor methodology for something that you care very deeply about? A broken clock can be right 2 times a day, but like, why are you walking around with a broken clock? Basically, guys, I got a comment from Dada's Trading Room who asked, based on our last week's episode, how do atheists charge their spiritual battery? He asked, what is a spiritual battery? How do you charge such a thing? He must have asked this the first second in the show because I think we went through it, but it's all right. What is a spiritual battery? How do you charge such a thing? And you plug a spiritual battery into a spiritual socket, in order to direct the spiritual energy towards the appropriate spiritual charges in the spiritual battery. So he asked the question and answered the question. We appreciate it. We thank you.
Yeah.
I think that answers everything.
Where do I find my spiritual socket, though? That's
Don't go to a pastor. He'll
No.
or a Catholic priest.
I've got some suggestions, but they're unrepeatable.
Yeah, I started saying.
Sure. George, you have some comments on it? Oh, go for it, John.
I'm wondering whether the
My head
technology.
is.
Sorry, George. Yep, I'm wondering.
I was just going
Go ahead, John.
I'm wondering whether the technology of spiritual batteries has changed. You know, like the other batteries have changed from lead acid to lithium oxide.
Right. Who knows? Who knows what's in those things? Okay, so
Nothing
George,
stays the same for long.
go ahead. What were you saying?
Sorry, George.
I almost can't remember. Oh yes, I my head is spinning already because I have a really hard time when I'm looking for the definition of something and it refers me to something else I have to look up, and then I have to look up that thing, and it at some time I feel ripped off. I hate this.
I'm going to make a dictionary that does only that for every single word, and I'll call it either the George dictionary
And
or
then you'll make them circular.
or a Christian dictionary, and just be like, hey, the Father is the Son is the Father, and it's like perfect, works for me. Guys,
any definition is a what's the expression for? You keep having to probe deeper.
Circular?
No.
Tautology?
No.
Spiraling down.
That's
Bad.
Good. But I'm thinking of a chain of I can't think of these.
They'll come to you.
I'm having a George moment.
You woke up an extra half hour early today. Who knows what's going on with you? Guys, next comment is prefers to stay in. Oh, go on. Was there something you want to add?
I was going to say paradox, maybe? Or you?
No.
Okay.
There's a dictionary. There should be. Okay. Anyway, we'll move on to the next one. Commenter who prefers to be anonymous. Ty said, to me, atheism means the lack or withholding of the belief in God or gods. I have two issues with that. Number one, Stanford EDU entries on atheism define atheism as, and at this point, I don't care what the comment really says, because he quoted me as saying, to me, atheism means blah, blah, blah. And I don't care what anyone else says, because in that quote, I'm saying what it means to me. So you can pull out someone else's quote and they can explain what it is, but it won't be my definition that I preface with, to me, atheism means blank. And I figure the best way to learn what atheism means to somebody is ask them what it means to them, and you'll get a definition for that. And it might be not the exact same wordage as someone else's, but to me, atheism is the lack of belief in a God and not the claim that a God does not exist. It's basically me saying I'm not a theist, and a theist is someone who believes in a God. So I'm not that. Go on ahead, John Richards, what do you think?
I've checked it out. It's infinite regress for those.
Okay.
Would you agree with that definition of atheism, by the way, speaking of definitions, John?
My favorite definition of atheism is non-belief, not a lack of belief. The same as if I don't have any sausages, I'm an sausage possessor.
Sure, I'm fine with it either way. Yeah, and I think it's important to talk to the people who hold the belief or lack of belief or whatever the status is to get the proper definition, rather than go to a formal textbook that might be written by someone who's not even an atheist or not even a Satanist. Yeah,
but we all know what apolitical means, don't we?
You
don't belong to a political party.
Sure. Or some other things. Hey, Larry, what's going on?
Not a lot. Why? What's up?
Hey, guess what? You got a comment directly sent to you.
Oh, cool.
I want to thank by Sandra Jackson. I want to thank Doubter 5. I am an atheist and simply value the truth. I value workable knowledge. I fill in the gap by seeking knowledge and doing things that represent who I truly am. Every lie or misunderstanding I am disabused of leads me closer and closer to bliss. I doubt everything. Hey.
Well, good. And that's why I call myself Doubter 5. I just like the letter 5 or number 5, but Doubter has been with me for 15 years, I guess is the name, an online name. But yes, even doubt what we were talking about here, doubt it all. But, and like, I think it was John said earlier, don't take claims as an answer to a claim. Doubt those as well. Do some research. Do what it needs. You need to find something that is convincing enough that you can go with the definition that you're looking into.
I agree. I also feel it's a lot like having a diet that's skewed more towards truths than falsehoods. Sure. And as you shed religion, it's like you're shedding really, really bad poison or fat from your body. And you just like, oh, I feel way lighter. I feel way more capable. It's great.
Right. And what gets me is how easy it is for religious folks, especially online when you're talking to them, just to make stuff up and claim that it's the truth. It never fails to amaze me how many lies are told by religious people so that they can maintain the claim that they own the truth, capital T truth. But they're there lying and making up things and selling it as the truth when it has no foundation in truth.
Yeah. Do you know what I want to do?
What's up?
Well, over here we have Full Fact Organization, which is a charity, and it has quite a team of expert people who examine all the claims of our politicians and pronounce whether they are true or false.
Oh, interesting.
And I want
it's
to
like PolitiFact.
Yeah, it's our version of your PolitiFact. That's right. And but I want to apply that to religious claims.
Very cool. Well, I mean, it'd be a lot of red on that list. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but why shouldn't they be exposed?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Just make sure they don't open themselves up to ads, because that's just where everything downfalls. Exactly. John, I actually have a question from you. This is a question for you. Is it true that any form of religion introduces division? It's a poem, so like the lines are kind of broken up. Is it true that any form of religion introduces division, us against them? What do you think?
Well, I'm not an expert on every form of religion, but all the forms of religion that I've met are very tribal. And that means they're divisive, because you're either with us or you're against us. It's an us versus them thing. And some of them take it to such extremes that if you leave, they will kill you. Or maybe not quite so extreme, if you leave, they will shun you as though you don't exist.
Many do that.
Yeah.
Okay, Slew, I got a question for you. This is from anonymous commenter. It says, you are still not getting it. If you believe in the true God, the omni-God, as he claims himself to be, everybody in the whole universe would be worshiping him without any doubts. Try to step outside your limitations. Do you have comments? I don't know. I'm sorry that wasn't actually a question, but I know we get.
No, I believe did I end up responding to that one? That was.
You might have.
Yeah, that was on there, and I got curious, and it kind of dove down into an area I didn't even know where that was going.
Right. Oh man, it's an interesting thing.
Infinite regress.
Yeah.
See, all you have to do is worship my God, and then you won't ask me why I worship my God anymore, and then it'll just be so much more sense. Okay. Let's see. So there was some recommendations from our commenters to check out some documentaries. We had been talking about Ukraine last episode. Commenters recommended that we check out Frontline PBS, Putin's Way, the full documentary on understanding how radical of an authoritarian Putin has become and always was. And then Real Life Lore, to a YouTube video series about why Russia is invading Ukraine. Strontium 76. Thank you guys again for all these comments. If we don't get through them all before the end of the show, I guarantee you we'll break them up and revisit them later on. But thank you so much for the comments. Strontium 76 says, and I haven't read this yet, so hopefully there's no cursing. So many views. I'm a French atheist. A little sad since I listened to this podcast for 2 years or so. I follow the Ukraine war since the beginning. I'm rather close to it. First time I hear about a link between this war and religious problem in this specific conflict. Aren't you pushing religion somewhere where it has no link? I feel this subject started on this religious link. How important is this link in the US? So how important is the angle that the Ukrainian war may have religious influences currently in the United States? And in summary, and I would say, at least from my perspective, I wasn't aware of the religious link until George brought it up. And I think it's a reasonable way to divide people and get people to demonize Ukraine, particularly if they're very orthodox, very traditional, very, religious in that sense, where it's like, hey, Ukraine, they let gays parade down the streets. Ukraine, they have Jewish leaders in government and they killed Jesus. Like, it's a very easy thing to go for. George, what do you think?
Well, I know somebody who left the Ukraine. His family left the Ukraine many, many years ago because of anti-Semitism. The times change, and the president of the Ukraine is Jewish today.
Yep.
That's quite a revolution in itself, I think.
Yeah.
Well,
this is a part of the world where they used to have pogroms.
Yeah, I've been following this for my Global Atheist news show on a week-by-week basis, and the latest thing I've picked up on is that Patriarch Kirill, who is the sort of the lead preacher, I don't know what other title to give him, of the Russian Orthodox Church, has lately blamed the invasion on the need to combat gay pride in Ukraine. He's picked up on the fact that LGBT people are getting rights in Ukraine, and that's in not the Russian bits of Ukraine, but the major part of Ukraine. So he's claiming that the invasion is actually godly because he's trying to wipe out this homosexual tendency.
Jeez. Slew, I saw you shaking your head. Did you have thoughts on that?
I don't really have anything else to add to that. I was just agreeing, I guess.
I mean, I'm agreeing in the fact that we're disagreeing on
Yeah.
the idea that it's a foolish and tragic reason to start a war against a group of people.
Yeah.
Right.
Can I pick up on something you said, Ty,
Please.
about as long as they don't start wanting to put adverts on the content? A few minutes ago, you said.
Yeah, I'm always worried when my news sources have dog food ads, because then in my sense it's like, oh no, because now I'm never going to hear bad news about dog food.
Yes. Exactly.
And then it just spirals out of control from there.
Exactly. Well, some of our viewers and listeners may have heard of a site called Patheos, which until recently had a non-religious section where people blogged. Hemant Mehta, my pal Jonathan, I'm not going to be able to remember. Oh, MS Pierce, Jonathan MS Pierce, and other secular people have been blogging on there. I did it myself for a year. I was a daily blogger, but it's changed because it's changed ownership, and now the new owners want to carry adverts, and they're worried that they won't get such valuable adverts if they put out a message that is offensive to Christians. So if you look at the non-religious section of Patheos today, you'll find there's nothing new. It hasn't been updated because all the people who used to blog there have left, including the admin of that section of their site, and they've set up a new blogging position called Only Sky. So if you want to go to Only Sky, I guess it's .com, you will find all these atheist bloggers.
I think it's .media.
Oh yeah,
and that's Only Sky. Could you spell that one just so that's not a weird spelling of sky? How would you spell that?
It's only ONLY. I think it's a separate word, SKY. Sky.
Nice.
It's like John Lennon's
it's a
song,
line.
Nothing above it's only sky.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think we got time for one last comment, right?
Is that a .com or .org or what?
.media.
.media.
Yeah.
Okay. Google it, basically. It'll pop up for you.
Oh.
Last comment of the day goes to Anonymous, who says, so our noodly Lord is the right God to worship after all. He sacrifices his body to us and actually wants us to eat him. and he resurrects every time on our plates. Thank you guys so much for leaving comments. Please continue to do so. We appreciate them. You can find more at Let's Chat on my YouTube channel, or I recommend check out some of these guys' content. John Richards, where can we find your content?
Well, the Newly Lord's blood is also red too.
Sure. And
The
delicious.
pasta, anyway.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
The sauce.
Yes. My content is found on Free Thought Productions YouTube channel, and my guest only yesterday was Slew. Oh, he's get this right, because streaming.
No.
It's
Yeah,
all
that
right.
way,
It's
that way.
always going to be different orders for everybody. Yeah, it's like mysticism. There's no set order. It's
Yeah.
all planned.
Yeah. So anyway, check out that Free Thought Hour show, which is available on Free Thought Productions channel, featuring Slew.
Yay.
Highly recommended, because I saw that interview too, and I thought it was delightful. And I think Slew
I enjoyed
handled
it.
himself so well.
Yeah.
Slew, any final comments? Anything you'd like to plug before next week?
Yeah, check out my podcast. I'll be having new content up pretty soon. The Skeptical Satanist. I'm on YouTube, and I've got a group on Facebook, same name, and a page there as well. I was also interviewed on the Misfit Amish LLC.
Ooh.
I would ask people to check them out, their content. Mary has some really good content up explaining coming out of the Amish community and some of the abuse and things in that community. She's involved with a few organizations trying to help with that.
Nice. Very, very cool. Where can we find that again? What's that second?
It's the Misfit Amish LLC. They're on YouTube, and I believe the website is the misfitamish.com. Okay.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
George, anything you'd recommend we check out before next week?
I can't think of anything right this
Hey,
moment.
I'll tell you what. Did you know Pete's Coffee make a tea as well? Have you ever tried that?
They make a what?
They make a
A tea? Oh, yes, they do. Sure.
Have you tried
Yes,
it?
they
Did
have
you
a
like
lot
it?
of tea.
Okay. Well,
I've never been a tea
but-
junkie, but
Anyway, Larry, feel free to take us out. I still don't know what atheism is and what it's all about. What's going on?
You might find the answer in my book. Atheism, What's It All About, is on Amazon and other fine booksellers everywhere. My content can be found generally at digitalfreethought.com. Be sure to click on the blog button to take you over to the many articles, songs, atheist songs that is, and radio show archives can be found there as well. My YouTube channel can be found by searching for Larry Rhodes or Doubter5. If you have any questions for this show, send them to Ask an Atheist at knoxvilleatheist.org, or you can send them to Let's Chat se@gmail.com. We'll answer them on future shows. If you're having trouble leaving religious beliefs behind, you can get help at recoveringfromreligion.org. I highly recommend them. Thank you for joining the Digital Free Thought Radio Hour. Remember, you can find this show on Apple iTunes, Pocket Casts, Amazon, and podcasts everywhere. Just search for the name of our show. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. Remember, everybody is going to somebody else's hell. The time to worry about it is when they prove that heavens and hells and souls are real. Until then, don't sweat it. Enjoy your life, and we'll see you next week. Say bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Great show, everybody.